Welcome to Integrity Inspire, your daily dose of inspiration and motivation, featuring the bright and talented members of the Integrity Marketing Group family. Now, here's your host, Integrity co-founder and CEO, Brian W. Adams.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining today's Inspire podcast. I'm so excited for all the things that we're working on here at Integrity, and I'm incredibly excited about adding so many amazing new partners that come alongside of us, and we can come alongside of them to help them grow and serve even more people. And today, we have a special treat welcoming an incredible organization called Alliance Insurance Solutions based out of El Paso, Texas. So Raul and Ofelia, thank you so much for joining the Integrity family.
Thank you.
So excited you guys are here with us in Dallas and sharing your story. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you for having
Well,
us.
listen, you guys have built such a remarkable business, and it's amazing. I like to tell people I grew up in West Texas, and then you get to where I grew up. I grew up in a really small town called Rawls, Texas, outside of Lubbock. And you get to Lubbock, and then, you know, that is West Texas. And then you have to drive another 5 hours to get to the real West Texas where El Paso is.
7 hours.
Is it 7 hours from Lubbock? Yeah.
To El Paso, yes.
So I remember going, so every time we used to drive, so growing up, we would drive to El Paso, and we would go to Juarez and, you know, go have Mexican food, go shop, and we'd stay in El Paso, but just we'd walk across the border, drive across the border. You can't do that anymore.
I wouldn't suggest that, no.
Not as light complected as I am, for sure, but those days have changed. I remember my dad, I was a little kid, my dad bought a pair of boots. He got the most amazing boots in Juarez, and they were these black, like, snakeskin boots, and he was so proud of them. And he got a bottle of tequila with the worm in it. You remember, like, tequila?
Yes, of course.
Tequila is so popular today.
Yes.
But you don't see the worm in it anymore.
No,
Y'all,
not
have you seen a
anymore.
worm in a tequila bottle?
Well, not recently, but I have.
Remember those?
Back in the day, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You had to eat the worm if you drank the whole thing?
That was tradition, right? So if
Did
you
you
took
ever
the
eat one?
No, I always avoided the last swallow.
I haven't either. I remember, I don't know how old I was, but I remember seeing that and just being like, man, I cannot imagine. And I don't think my dad ever ate it either, but those are some great memories. The drive from Lubbock, so people don't realize how big Texas is, right?
Yes.
So we're far West Texas in Lubbock, and then going 7 hours.
Yeah.
And we had to cut through New Mexico. We
Right,
cut
yeah.
through the southern tip of New Mexico
Yeah.
to get to the rest of Texas. So it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. You have to drive through eastern New Mexico,
Right.
and then you end up coming into Texas again, down south, most southern part of New Mexico.
Yeah.
And then you still drive another 2-3 hours once you get back into Texas to get to El Paso.
Isn't that crazy? Look, I love El Paso. I just love the culture, everything about it.
It's home.
I need to go back there at some time. I haven't been back in a long time, but in fact, I remember going, and it was in the early 2000s. I went for a wedding, and we all, after the wedding, everybody walked across the bridge and went to Juarez, but it's hard to imagine that today.
Yeah, things have definitely changed.
Yeah, that's for sure. Which, look, I hate that because there's so much culture in that area that I wish it could get back to normal one day. So hopefully it will. Certainly continue to pray for that. Now, you guys have built just an amazing business. Did y'all grow up in El Paso?
Well, I got there when I was 13 years old from LA.
Yeah.
So the significant part of my life has been in El Paso. So I consider myself a native El Pasoan, absolutely.
Yeah. And you started out in the car business. You weren't in the insurance business. Tell us about your passion for cars, because I know you got a big passion for cars.
Sure. Well, my dad was a mechanic, so it was natural for me to kind of follow the trade.
Yeah.
My uncles, my dad's brothers, they were all into cars, the old muscle cars and what have you. And I remember back in California going as a little kid with my dad, and they would do street racing and what have you. And I fell in love with cars, ever since I was a little kid.
That's awesome. My granddad was a mechanic, and going to his shop, I can still remember he always had a red rag in his pocket.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the smell of his shop, the gasoline and oil smell, and it was just magical growing up.
It's very unique, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you go from being in the auto industry to getting into the insurance business?
Well, I spent about 18 years in automotive, most of it in management. It got to a point where I felt I had outgrown the industry, and so I started looking for something different. I spent about 3 years teaching automotive at a technical college. It just didn't go well with me for whatever reason, and I started looking for other opportunities. And out of nowhere, I decided, to try insurance. I figured, if others can do it, why couldn't I? And so I got licensed, worked the first 4 years in 2004 to 2009, so 2008, I transitioned from life, pretty much exclusively selling life in 2008 to adding Medicare supplements. And then later on in 2009 is when we started transitioning over to the Medicare Advantage side of the business.
My nephew is trying to get into the insurance business right now. He's a mechanic. He's got 2 little kids, and he's wanting to do something different. So he's working with one of our amazing companies, and he went and took his test, and he called me, and he said, man, I got 93 on it. I was like, I don't know anybody who's ever gotten a 93 on this. So I was like, you should definitely focus on this. So I hope he makes it. I may need to connect you with him and have you help encourage him. Because it's tough when you start out.
Yeah,
sure.
it is. But yeah, absolutely.
How do you think your experience in the car industry helped with your passion for the insurance business?
Yeah, I didn't know at the time, obviously, but there's really a lot of parallels between automotive and insurance. In automotive, you have to do a diagnosis, a needs analysis per se, find out what's wrong with the vehicle. Plus, you also add that interaction with the client, right? So it's almost like if you're treating a patient for them. And automotive, much like insurance products, change constantly. So annually, you would have to be getting up to date on new automotive systems. And again, that's a parallel to our product, where every year there's changes. So you can't remain complacent and say, I know it now. I know how to do it, because next year with the new model, the systems may change completely on you. So there's a lot of parallels between automotive and insurance.
Man, I never really thought about that. That is so interesting, because you're right. If you took your car in to get it fixed, it had some sort of noise that you weren't sure about. And today, they've got all this technology for the diagnostics, right? They plug in the computer. It says, hey, we need to fix this. But too often, I think, especially as people get into insurance, they have a product and they say, I'm just going to sell it to everybody. Well, they're not focusing on the needs analysis.
Correct.
And so if you're thinking about that, I'm thinking about my nephew, frankly, that has gotten into the insurance business. He's like, man, this is hard. It may be because he's selling just one product and he's focused on, I'm going to sell everybody this, but not really saying, like, let's talk about your needs just like a mechanic would. Because a mechanic would never, you can do basic stuff. We can change the oil, but even with changing the oil, you're going to be checking the stick to make sure that it's low and it needs to be changed and things of that nature. But if you're really fixing the car, you got to do something really important, like we do with health insurance in particular. I mean, you need to understand what's needed there and then make sure that we get the right solution, or that problem's going to get worse long term.
Right, and some problems seem to kind of overlap each other.
Right, sure.
So unless you're fixing the root of the cause, you're going to have to be throwing parts at the problem or shotgunning it. And again, the parallels are very similar to dealing with a prospect, where you may be looking at a specific doctor, but you're overlooking prescriptions, for example. And so having that diagnosis in automotive is very similar to doing that needs analysis for that individual.
I think that's so enlightening to hear you talk about that, because I think that's a big reason we're trying to invest so much in technology to put technology around these decisions that people make. Because if you're just solving for a primary care physician, you may be forgetting the specialist, you may be forgetting some other issues that may not be there. If you're just helping somebody on their health, but you're not helping them on their life insurance, you're not completely holistically serving them. And so I love the parallel there that you've drawn, because it's just a really interesting reminder for us to always kind of get back to basics. And that, I remember when I first got in the business, you started with the needs analysis and you started thinking about what do they need before I just start selling them whatever I have.
Right.
Now, Ofelia, how did you get into the insurance business?
Originally, I was working in a nursing agency. I have a giving heart, serving heart, and so in the home health agency, that's what we would do, send a nurse to your home or a home health aide.
Yeah.
And I did that for years.
Yeah.
So thereafter, when my partner / husband, when he started with insurance, my business ended.
Yeah.
And so I shifted from this side to this side. And I would love to say it was easy, but it really wasn't.
Yeah.
Even though the skills and the tasks and the serving was there instilled in me, that's how we ended up partnering together.
What do you think was the hardest part of that transition?
The hardest part was connecting in the partnership,
Yeah.
because of the way I worked and the way he worked, and connecting. But in the end, it ended up, our talents and our skills ended up helping so that we can better serve others.
Yeah, I can see, coming from a nursing background, especially home health. I mean, we're meeting people in their home. We're trying to help make sure that we take care of them.
Right.
Sometimes people don't realize that they're going to need that product until it's too late. And your experience had to be really helpful to be like, look, I've helped people with this before. Let's make sure you get the right product so we can take care of you and you can have that paid for, right?
Correct.
Right.
Now, I know you guys, you've said that you're workaholics. You love to work. In fact, you just went on your first vacation in 10 years. Look, I've been accused of being a workaholic myself. I think if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I think that's, that passion for excellence and passion for service has been a big part of what drives people like us. But I know you guys also spend some time outside of your office. What are you guys passionate about outside of work?
Well, going back to my original love for cars, like to do the cars and coffee type of gatherings. We do have several classic muscle cars that we like to show. That's really kind of what I do for distraction, for R&R, if you will. My wife does her own little thing with what she loves to do, but we both love our cars, and it's just fun to talk to other car people because you can relate. And it's amazing that you can have a 30-minute conversation on where the emblem of an old muscle car should be, right? That you're a quarter of an inch to the right, no, it's in the right place, and then you start arguing or discussing silly stuff that only car guys enjoy.
What's your favorite muscle car?
So if I had a choice today, I would get a Hemi Cuda 71. As far as right now, my favorite would be our Lucy. That's what she's called. It's a 2020 Challenger Hellcat that we enjoy very much.
Red Eye.
Yeah.
What do you, Red Eye? What is
Red
that?
Eye. You have to mention
It's
the Red Eye.
it's a Hellcat Red Eye, so it's kind of like the upgraded model and more power.
I'm not a car guy, but I love it when you meet people with that passion for cars, because man, there's just that super passion about fixing them up and getting them right and tweaking them. So you still work on your cars?
I do a little bit of work, not a lot, mainly because I really don't have the time to do so.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll fiddle with them a little bit here and there. Maybe it's mostly because I'm bored and I need something to do. I do. Automotive is still deep inside of me. That's something that I'll never let go of.
Yeah, that is super cool. Now, I also understand you like Zumba, right?
Yes, I do. Even though, I love the fact that we're workaholics and we can work long hours together, and I do share in the collection of cars. But I have my own time, a free time where I like to walk, I like to dance, I like to sing. And in one of those, I became a Zumba instructor for that purpose.
Really?
More so that I could force myself to exercise,
Yeah.
because it's important. It's
Yeah.
important to add that to my daily routine.
That's awesome. Now, so when we first started Inspire, I was trying to break the ice, and I would say, do you want to sing something on air, just to try to like break the ice, and because it's people are timid sometimes, and a lot of people are like, no chance in the world. But we've had a lot of pretty good singers, and then we started Integrity Idol. We then had Integrity's Got Talent. We've had the talent in Integrity is ridiculous. I mean, we've got so many amazingly talented people. So since you said you sing, what would you sing if you had a choice?
If I had a choice, I think I would sing "Then Sings My Soul."
Oh, I love that song.
But I wouldn't sing the whole thing, just that little part.
Well, let's do it.
Oh,
Putting
okay.
her on the spot today. I haven't done this in a while, so I need
She's
to.
the singer in the family.
I love that song.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
Oh my gosh. Well done. That was beautiful. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
That was amazing. I love that song.
Yes.
That is such a beautiful song. And look, we love adding new partners like you guys that have the same passion of serving others, have this idea to really be able to, support people in bigger ways. And I know that's been such a big part of y'all's life. Now, whenever we code name partnerships, we have all different code names. People pick whatever they want. You guys said, I want it to be Project Lifesaver. And it was something immediately, you said there's got to be Project Lifesaver. And I know there's a story behind that, which drives part of your passion. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Sure. Well, back in the early part of 2009, we had a bad experience with a family member, my sister, in Medicare Advantage. Of course, it wasn't the product that was the problem, but rather it was the agent that did something wrong, and it ended up hurting my sister's health care. So when I transitioned into Medicare Advantage, I always was very cautious in the way I did things, because I didn't want to do the same thing that was done to my sister. So I was very cautious. I was constantly calling my new clients, make sure that they had their ID cards, make sure the doctor took their insurance, make sure the pharmacy. And so early on, I gained this reputation for customer service. One day, one of my clients called me and she asked me if I could help her neighbors. She was very concerned about them. This was likely AEP 2009, which was my first AEP. I said, absolutely, let me just get down with my appointments. And she said, call me when you're ready, meet me at my house, and I'll walk you over to their house. So we did. When I walked into her neighbor's house, I saw this gentleman laid out in the couch, and he was somewhat comatose. He wasn't really conscious at this point. He had been experiencing abdominal pain from the night before. Didn't want to go to ER or urgent all night. In the morning, the wife took him to a urgent. They didn't see him because they didn't take his insurance, so she just took him back home. And so by the time I got there, he was very ill. We called 911, that took him into the hospital, into the ER. And so he was deathly ill. From what I remember, his appendix had ruptured. And so they were able to save his life. I would simply like to think that anybody else in my shoes would have done the same thing. So I don't think I did anything special, but I was at the right place at the right time. Eventually, they became my clients. And so every time I would get a referral from them, I would get 2 questions asked right off the bat by the person calling me. Are you Mr. Parga? And if so, are you a lifesaver? Because that's what my new clients started labeling me as. Wow. And so from there on, every time I'd get a referral from that group of clients, they would always ask me that question, are you the lifesaver? Because my neighbor or my sister or whatever told me that you saved someone's life. I didn't.
Wow.
But it just stuck with me, and eventually when we continued to grow, I made it part of our company logo. And it's always stayed with us. So it's somewhat of a badge of honor, not because I saved someone's life, but because I was there to serve someone more than anything.
Man, that's such a, wow, what an incredible story, first of all. And people don't realize the important aspect of what we do in so many different ways. I mean, the opportunity to serve people, make sure they have the health care coverage, make sure that they take care of that. To make sure that when they go to urgent care next time, they have the right health care coverage. Or just showing up and saying, oh man, something's happening, let me help you. Sure. And those stories are so inspirational. And that's where, look, I think that what we do as a business is transformative in a lot of different ways, because we help people in such an important aspect of their life, with their life, health, and wealth, to make sure that they're taken care of, that they have the support that they need, etc. And those stories encourage, I know, me, and it's really about what Inspire's all about, is being able to come together and go, man, what we do matters, and we truly save people's lives. A lot of times we don't see that we save somebody's life, but we save tons of lives every day because of making sure they have the best health care coverage, make sure that we've got the best life insurance for the family, and then also wealth planning products to make sure that they have a great time in the future of their life, especially for the good days ahead. And man, I love that story, and you are the lifesaver. I think you ought to carry lifesavers around, pass those out to everybody, because that's such a great aspect of what we do. And that's what I think that we all need to be reminded of, is regardless of what position you're playing on the field, whether that's serving people in the field as an agent, as an agency owner, as somebody in the back office, we all play this important part of this whole fabric of this industry that truly saves people's lives. So thank you for sharing that story. And thanks for doing what you do. It's amazing.
I love what I do.
Yeah, well, we're super honored and excited to be y'all's partner, and just can't wait to see what we can do together to save more people's lives and really help them plan for the good days ahead. And so thank you guys for joining us as partners, and thank you for blessing us this morning with your singing. I could do that all day, because that was absolutely beautiful. If we do Integrity Idol 3, we've done it twice now. If we do it 3, you've got to try out, because I think you're going to be right up there. But thank you guys. If y'all need anything, I want you to know we're all here to support you, to help save even more people's lives and help them plan for the good days ahead.
Absolutely. We're extremely proud to be with you.
Well, we're incredibly proud to be with you guys as well. And so hopefully everybody can see why we're so honored to partner with such great people today, and the opportunity for us to come alongside of them and serve even more people. There's no telling what we can accomplish together. I hope everybody has an amazing day and rest of the week. And thanks for joining us today on Inspire. And I hope you're as inspired as I am today. God bless you all, and take care. Have a great week.